want to hear from somebody that's walking the walk and talking the talk, dealing with aggressive dogs in the real world. Well, if so, join me in today's conversation with Pamela Dempsey of Impact Behaviour to look at and understand the work that she's doing dealing with dog aggression, something that's more prevalent now in today's society, and her sharing her experiences and her wonderful stooge dog and hearing a little bit about her story. Join me on today's conversation of Lifting All Ships. Hi, Pamela. How are you?
I'm good, Kamal. How are you?
Yeah, really, really good. Thank you first and foremost. I just want to say thank you for your time. I really do appreciate it. And obviously, this is the first conversation that we're ever having, so it's going to be great to just let it organically flow, which is how I like these things to happen. Obviously, we had a tiny little brief dialogue beforehand, but I just want to allow the conversation to evolve. So first off, I want to first acknowledge the fact the fantastic work that you're doing. So the algorithms of Facebook and their eternal wisdom constantly, shove dog trainers in other dog trainers' faces. And largely, to be truthful, I look at other people and I glance over them, and some of them, I choose not to follow. But you're one of the people that I've seen on social media that I absolutely love the work that you're doing. You are walking the walk and talking the talk, and you are doing some fantastic, fantastic work in a very, very complex and challenging lane, which is dog to dog aggression and aggression in general. So I want to first off start off a bit, obviously introduce yourself, who you are, what you do, etc., and then tell us a bit about your background.
Yeah, sure. So I'd like to say first off, when you started liking and following my page and commenting, it was like I was like, oh my God, look what's happening. I was sending it to all my friends, screenshotting it. So I was like a fangirl. So that was really cool. And I love the fact that dog trainers do support each other. I know there's a lot of negativity, but there is also, if you look for it, a lot of positivity. So that
Yeah.
was fantastic. But yeah, so I'm Pamela. I run Impact Behaviour. We're based in Lincolnshire, in Grimsby, and we have people come to us from all over the country. Yeah, I specialise in aggression and reactivity. I don't call them stooge dogs. I call them aggression therapy dogs. My team of dogs do a lot more than just kind of stand
Oh,
still.
I love that.
Yeah, they're the clever ones, really. They're the they're the ones that run the business. So I've got five dogs, four of which are aggression therapy dogs, and one pet bull mastiff. She's a bit of a clown, so she doesn't work, I'm afraid. Although she does, to be fair, she goes out to schools. I do a lot of school education. I have a free program that I do where I talk about aggression and body language and how to identify for children between the age of 5 and 16, how to identify different dog body language.
Oh,
So
that's
I go out to
amazing.
schools,
Good for
and
you.
Pom comes with me. So we've done 90
Yeah.
schools in the last 8 months, I think, and colleges. We've
Wow.
done scouts, cubs, we've done some football teams. So yeah, I'm really trying to promote how to spot aggression, and for children how to deal with a dog in a potentially dangerous situation. So yeah, that's Pom Pom. Then I've got four therapy dogs. Daphne, who I know, Kamal, you're a big fan of, my 8.5-year-old bull mastiff. So she's just retired. She's had 7.5 years of rehabilitating aggressive dogs. Thousands, I think. I think it must be about 2 or 3 thousand dogs she's worked with. Then I've got Frog, who is a 6-year-old bull mastiff. She's now my kind of chief aggression therapy dog. And you'll think I'm winding you up, but I've got two aggression therapy pugs,
Yeah.
Turbo and Trudy. Trudy, who we call Evil Edna, she has her own persona on social media.
Yes.
And they all do the same thing. We assess dogs, we see how they react in real time, in real life situations with other dogs. With my dogs being kind of non-reactive, but they will correct inappropriate behavior.
Yeah.
And yeah, we work from there to undo any kind of reactive or aggressive behavior. I've got a big 4-acre training center, split into 4 sections with fences between, all very secure. So yeah, that's what we do.
Amazing, amazing. It sounds like you're, what I love about your work, and this is one of the things that I look for in other trainers is I want to see them doing what they do. I want to see people that can not only talk the talk but walk the walk. And that's the thing that jumped out at me. Obviously, I mean, I have to. No, I love bull mastiffs. They're on my bucket list of dogs to have. I absolutely love the breed. I love bull breeds anyway, but in particular bull mastiffs. And one day I shall have one. And it was that when seeing Daphne initially, and I was like, oh my, that dog. And when you've had a dog that does that work, you appreciate, especially if you've had one yourself, and I, a bit like you, I've had several, but when the quality of that dog, you cannot give that, you can't, you can train a lot of dogs to do a lot of things, but to have what that dog has is largely a gift, isn't it? It's a special, special, special dog, and she's definitely got that. But what really, really drew me to your work was one, your transparency. I love that. I love that you were showing the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think that's a really, and you obviously you don't use tools, which really did obviously resonate and connect with me. So tell us a bit about how did you get into dogs? Because you did a bit of showing, but this is a very, very different world. So tell us a bit about your journey.
Well, it's an unusual one. You're going to love it if you don't know the story. A lot of people do. I try and talk about it as much as I can because it is really relevant to what I do. So I started working with gorillas. I know. Bit of an odd one.
Yeah.
When I was 16, yeah, I worked with gorillas. I was a gorilla keeper
But
in a
only what,
zoo.
about 5 or 6 years ago then, Pamela?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I've only just finished. Yeah, so which was incredible. I don't actually think I fully appreciated it at the time how amazing it was. But yeah, I worked with gorillas. I was a gorilla keeper,
In this
and I
country?
worked. Yes, in the UK. Yeah, I was born in Bristol, so I'm a Bristolian. I do try and hide the accent. I worked in Bristol Zoo, and I looked after the gorillas, and I worked there for a couple of years, and I had loads of opportunity. I went around different zoos and worked with lots of different gorillas in lots of different settings. I did lots of training and qualifications in zoology
Wow.
to have a career with gorillas. Yeah, it was incredible, and my whole ethos, even to this day, kind of 30 years later, I'm still using the same ethos that I started there, and this kind of natural communication, really. I suppose, when I was working with gorillas, they didn't understand us. We had to understand them, and we had to act as part of the troop, part of the group of gorillas, and we had to understand their very intricate, body language, facial expressions, and their all of their kind of rituals and everything that they did. And then we had to get on board with what they were doing. They were never going to understand us as it was. You've always got this clash, haven't you, of different species. And we're very complex to understand. We use the most complex language and in the animal kingdom. So we have to take it back to basics. And that's what I learned. And that's still what I practice now. I just, put it into practice with dogs rather than apes. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, but yeah.
So how did that jump into dog ownership and your what you do now then?
So I've always been crazy about dogs. I pestered my mum until I was 11 years old to get a dog. That was all I wanted. I was just obsessed with dogs. And yeah, it was just a kind of natural progression. I stopped working at the zoo. I also used to race cars. I was a champion car racer, if you don't know that as well. And I also was very big into motorbikes. I lived on the Isle of Man. They're one of the
Oh,
passions of my life. Yeah. So
oh,
I'm a bit of an adrenaline junkie, I'm afraid. I think that's why I work with aggression. And yeah, I had a dog. I took on a boxer, and he
mhm,
was an absolute disaster.
right.
It was just I did everything wrong. Got him from a terrible breeder. He was terribly bred. It was, and he was really aggressive, and I just kind of worked from there. I think that was when I was about 20, 21, and then that naturally progressed into putting everything that I've learned through the gorillas into the dog. I was seeing dog trainers and asking for help. I mean, this was a long time ago, before dog training was like what it is now. I just didn't get much help, and I just did it myself, really, and then worked through from there. started doing more and more, you know, and when you start off, you kind of do a little bit of this and a little bit of that, did a little bit of puppy training, started doing lots of volunteering at dog rescue centres, which is the best way to start, definitely.
Absolutely, yeah, definitely, yeah, yeah.
You learn so much and you bring so much, you know. I did it for free, you know. I was just volunteering and just saying, look, if I can help you, I help you, and you know, just give you some advice. And that then started getting bigger and bigger. Then I did some psychology, dog psychology, canine psychology courses back then. Again, they were a long time ago, but stood me in good stead, really. And then it just went from there. I started using, I had dog de Bordeaux. So my first stooge dog was a dog de Bordeaux, and that was really useful. And the Mastiffs are fantastic, obviously, at being really stoic, and very, you know, steadfast in what they do. I found the dog de Bordeaux, I loved my dog de Bordeaux. It's always going to be like a heart breed for me, but they were incredibly unhealthy at the time. So I changed to Bull Mastiffs.
Mhm.
Again, a very similar breed, but a little bit healthier. I got Daphne. Daphne was my first Bull Mastiff. And yeah, so I did a little bit of showing with Daphne, which was fun. It's always good to go into different dog sports and have a go. We did it for about a year. Daphne did really well. She had a big win at Crufts, which was fantastic. But I think the dog show world, the negativity there is draining, literally, like life sucking. Yeah. So it wasn't for me. And at that point, I had two little boys. I've got two young sons. They're 10 and 11 now.
Oh wow.
And yeah, but I didn't like them being in the show world, really. You get so much negativity, and we get enough negativity anyway in life, don't we? So yeah, we stopped, and to be honest, we've been that busy in the last 5 or 6 years. It's been unbelievable. Crazy busy. So yeah, then I've got my 3 Mastiffs, and then a couple of years ago, I needed a small dog, because obviously if people were coming and saying, look, my dog's all right with big dogs, it just doesn't like small dogs, it was like, I don't have small dogs to test it with. So I've now got my pug team, and they are incredible, absolutely adore. I'm absolutely pug obsessed, and I like to show what healthy, well-bred, well-raised pugs can do. They're incredibly healthy. Turbo's ripped. He's got muscle on muscle. You know, he's fantastic. I like my dogs to be an ambassador for their breed. So yeah, that's all about us in a nutshell.
So how long has your centre been open for then?
I've had a training centre. We've changed locations a couple of times for 6 years, 7 years. Where I've actually had my own place. We've been in this one, which is based in Kilby, for 5 years now. So yeah.
Excellent, amazing. I mean, it's great to hear your journey, and obviously how it came to be. And I love the fact that you have that path that's somewhat organic and almost natural, the way in which which definitely comes across in the way you work. So just tell us a little bit. You talked about how your background in looking after primates and observing them and interacting with them has influenced the way in which you deal with dog behavior. So what is your ethos, and what is your principles and take on dog behavior and dog aggression?
Yeah, I think, you know, like you say there, I call myself a natural dog trainer. I don't really align with any of the kind of camps
Yeah.
of dog training at the moment. And, you know, I feel like a natural dog trainer, you know, is the best title to stick to. It kind of covers a wide range, and I mean natural in the fact that, like I say, you know, it's about observing the dogs and observing a dog as a dog, taking the human intervention kind of out of it, stepping back a little bit, watching the dog as an animal, and watching how they interact with humans and dogs in a more natural setting, and taking it straight back to nature. I think we're better, aren't we, when we're in our natural world? You know, we're all happy when we go to the seaside. We're all happy when we're climbing mountains and in the forests, and, you know, out in the fresh air and out in the greenery. And dogs are as well, you know. And this is why my centre is always kind of outside and very natural. I think I strip everything back and go back to basics, and then rebuild things in. And as they affect the dog. So I'm really kind of dog centered. It's not so much about the people. I think too much nowadays. I think the whole dog behavior industry is going in the wrong direction. And yeah, I mean, this is what we used to do with gorillas. You understand the animal in its basic form, and then you can understand the things that are affecting it from the environment. You know, we always say, don't we, with children, you know, if there's something wrong, you fix the environment first. And that's very much what I like to do. I talk a lot to the owners. I do it in real time. So we'll stand back and I'll kind of say, don't do anything. I don't want you to interact. You know, I want to talk to you about what I'm seeing your dog is doing. And I really try and help owners have a much deeper understanding of their dog as an animal, and what they need and how they're reacting, so that they can really feel like they've learned a lot when they leave here.
Yeah, do you know, it's a really interesting point, and hopefully we're going to elaborate a little bit more, because I definitely think that somewhere along the line we've definitely disconnected with what dogs are, and as a result of that, well, largely the majority of behavioural cases that I deal with, it's a disconnect between what the dog is and what that dog specifically needs. So what your cockapoo versus your Malinois needs, your border collie versus your beagle. And what happens is, because people aren't aligned with what the dog is, they don't then satisfy the dog's most natural, most basic instinct. And as a result of that, the dog then goes, well, I need to have an outlet for that trait, whether it be, you know, herding, guarding, blah blah, and then that's when it manifests itself as a socially inappropriate behavior. But as I always say, you know, the irony is that we created all these different breeds because they were tools to assist us in our daily work. You know, like, you know, border collies were herders, gun dogs were meant to, you know, to bring in game that you know, they had the terriers were exterminators, bull breeds were, you know, your breed was a guard dog and a driving dog. So they had they, in those, when we first created them, those natural instincts were brilliant. They served our purposes. As our relationship has evolved from dogs, and basically they were tools, to now they sit on our sofa, they are our companions, they spend 6 to 8 hours in the same environment, and then they go over the park and they walk around it for 15 minutes. There's a massive, massive disconnect, isn't there, really? So what is it that you feel? Why do you think that is there? Why has that happened with dogs?
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more there. I love that. Yeah, we are so disconnected to them. Oh, it's such a deep problem now as well. It's not a simple, oh, you know, this has gone wrong, so let's fix it like this. It's gone so deep, and it's so connected with human mental health and human problems and human issues and what we need. You know, people are very much, I think I need a dog because I need to get out more, and I need some company, and I need some companionship, and I need some affection. And then what we don't look at is, but have I actually got what it takes and what the dog needs? You know, am I what a dog needs? Can I provide what a dog is going to need on a daily basis to be happy? Or am I just going to get a dog, you know, to suit me? And I think it's really gone the wrong way. And like you say, they were all bred for purpose, they were all bred for function, and they were our best friends. And you'll see very, very strongly on my page that, you know, I'm totally anti kind of fur baby and this whole parents and dog guardians, that, you know, you are an owner, you buy the dog, you are their best friend, you are not the parent, you know, you're not the mum, or, you know, they're not your baby. I think we need to get back away from this, because when you have a dog that is your best friend, it is incredible. And I feel like so many people are missing out on this amazing connection with this amazing, you know, original reason that we had dogs in the first place, is, you know, to kind of have this coexist with another species. You know, you don't get it with anything else. It's incredible, and people are missing out. And I find at the moment, especially in the last maybe 2 years, that the relationship between dogs and people is becoming toxic. You know, so many times I'm saying to people, you've got a toxic relationship with your dog. You know, how you need your dog to be and what they actually are is so far apart, it's almost, you know, unfixable. So yeah, it's frustrating, and it's difficult. To kind of 25 years ago, I would have told you, if I'd have had a conversation with you, Kamal, I'd have told you, it's all right, don't worry, it's, you know, I've got this, you know, I'm going to fix everything. People are going to listen to me, and they'll, you know, stop making mistakes and stop
Yeah.
getting inappropriate breeds that they didn't research and don't understand. And
Absolutely. Yeah.
but I think it's worse now, you
I
know.
think that I think the horse has bolted, Pam. I genuinely think the horse has bolted, and we are
Yeah,
desperately trying to shut the fence, and it's too late. And I think there's been several things in society. Like if we look at first was obviously like if I think back to when I first, like 30 years ago when I got my first dog, we had a different relationship with them, and that definitely society's perception of dogs was different. So I remember walking down where I used to live in East London, and there was a dog, a Rottweiler, and she was lovely, a dog called Rizzo, but she used to guard her boundary of her property. So she used to, she was never on a lead. She used to be in the garden. They used to have her off the lead. And she used to run. And if you went near their drive, she used to run and say, "Don't come near the drive." So everybody in the local neighbourhood learned, oh, well, Rizzo's drive. We just walked around it. Nobody went, the dog was aggressive. The dog, she was a really lovely dog, but she went, this is my house, this is my property. You could argue, was that, good, bad, or different? That's not the point I'm trying to make. It's more the fact that nobody saw that dog as a bad dog, because she would then, like, the owners would take her for a walk, and everybody, she'd be at the local park with us and play. She was absolutely fantastic, the epitome of a great dog. But she went, this is my house, don't come near my house. And we used to have latchkey dogs that would roam the streets and they'd go back to their owners. Is that right? Is that wrong? I don't know. But somewhere along the line, and I would say that was probably more of an extreme way of owning a dog, where you didn't have necessarily always the greatest control or etc. But then we shifted to the point of where we've almost become like helicopter parents to them, and society has become fearful of a dog saying to you, I don't know, like, not all dogs want to be petted, but there's that like society's needs where, well, if I have a dog, you must be allowed to pet my dog, and your dog has to love my dog, and my dog has to be everybody's best friend. And when it doesn't conform to that gross misconception of dog ownership, or what dogs are, your dog's the bad guy. No, my dog's just a normal dog. And I absolutely think, I mean, I travel the world, doing training people to train dogs and delivering seminars. And I definitely think it's a massive issue in Western cultures. Definitely in England and America, it's definitely prevalent, that thought and that disconnect. If you look at, I was on holiday in Turkey recently, and the difference they had, rightly or wrongly, there were street dogs there. And their dogs were pottering around like they were. I mean, again, you would question whether that's, again, right, but whether that's what you would want from a relationship with a dog. But what you definitely saw is those dogs didn't have social hang-ups like our. And I think that the anti-dog legislation, obviously we've seen the recent XL bully legislation, which amplifies the fear and the narrative of, if your dog is aggressive, it's a bad dog, it's going to be euthanized, it's going to be seized, etc. And I think it's created a fear culture with ownership, and as a result, that fear transcends to dogs, and dogs then respond by showing apprehension, anxiety, which can look like aggression. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is to turn it around, Pamela. Any thoughts?
Oh, I have lots of thoughts on that. Yeah, you're so right, and you've touched on a few brilliant points there. And like you say, I mean, I refer back to when especially when we get the foreign rescue dogs here, and people are saying they're reactive, they're reactive. And I'll say, do you know what? They're normally, I would give almost a 99% chance that as soon as we let those dogs off with my dogs, they'll be absolutely fine. Because they're feral street dogs. They're growing up without human intervention, which causes all these problems. And I'll say, I'll tell you all the time when we have either Turkish, Greek, Spanish, or Romanian, Eastern Bloc country rescue dogs coming in, and people are saying, oh, they're terrible I've put them on a harness and a lead, and they're reactive, and I've kept them away from dogs for 2 years, and I'll say, honestly, I bet you if we let them off, they'll be absolutely fine. And we do. And literally 99% of the time, they are.
I agree. Yeah.
Because because they didn't grow up with the human restrictions and the human emotions around socializing that we do. They're out and they're in the wild and they interact with other dogs and they learn and they keep space and they respect other dogs. And, you know, it's a perfect example of how we are ruining it. It's
I don't know
not
if you've seen this, Pamela, on that note. If anything, I would say those dogs have far better social skills and dog-to-dog communication than our British raised dogs. I would say the dogs that, because again, what we as a culture want is we want the uber friendly, gregarious, outgoing, loves everybody. But if your dog bites my dog has to bound off. It's nonsense. And what we actually, when you actually analyze it from a dog behavior, what we want from our dogs is the drunk guy at the pub who's way too familiar, who's good, like putting, like who's loud, obnoxious. But we so almost have been conditioned to think, oh, that's normal. That's how we want our dogs to behave. Whereas the one that's just minding their own business in the corner, having a drink with their friend, and go, when you bound up, goes, actually, I'd really appreciate if you could leave me alone. Or they say, could you F off and leave me alone? They're apparently the problem. And you kind of go, how twisted is that? It's mental.
It is mental. It is mental. It is. I totally agree with you. And yeah, just going back to what you're saying about the foreign rescue dogs. I always say this to people. They're far more emotionally intelligent than our dogs.
Yeah.
They've got this wonderful, it's I love it. I love it when people bring, you know, the foreign rescues here and you sit back and you just sit back and watch, you know. I'll kind of narrate it for you. I feel like David Attenborough a lot of the time, you know, I'm kind of whispering into their ears saying, look what they're doing now, look at the body language, look at their ears, look at the tail, this is what it's telling you, you know. And the owners are like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, what's it going to do? And I'm like, no, enjoy this. This is beautiful to watch. This is like ballet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Class. Yeah.
It's just a different level to what we see, because we restrict our dogs emotionally and socially so very much. And again, if you and you've got to come, you've got to have an open invitation to come up to my centre and meet the dogs.
And I absolutely will. I will absolutely do it. I will make. I'm often up that neck of the woods, and I will do it. I will absolutely come and see you, because I love the work that you do, Pamela. It resonates and it connects with how I work. In that, so talking about methodology, let's move to that. So the reason that I really love the work that you do is there's a lot of thought about behavior modification for, let's use the term, aggressive dogs, that is so protracted, that is so conservative, that is so I suppose, what's the word, sterile. You go, I genuinely don't know how you're going to implement that method with the normal human being, with a normal dog that doesn't know anything about dog training. I go, it's so unrealistic to go, all right, what you have to do is you have to get your dog around a dog 200 meters away and do X, Y, and Z for X amount. It's like, technically, that's absolutely brilliant training. But is it realistic? And I go, then you've got Mrs. Smith, who has to take the dog out in between running her kids to school and doing the shopping and da-da-da-da. And then she has to get home and then her husband has to take the dog out and he has to run the gauntlet of the other dogs over the park, because that's the most good. And you go, good luck with trying to implement that behavior modification process. And I think what happens is we've ended up shifting to being so fearful, you know, so what's the word? So reluctant and so risk averse that we end up prolonging these dogs' concerns. Like, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what you find is the most common trigger of aggression. But what I would say is people become so risk averse, they actually perpetuate the dog's problem for far longer than it needs to be. You see people, I mean, I've had clients that have had a problem with their dog for years, and they end up modifying their whole life, like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to walk this dog. Like, I get hiring freedom. I love freedom feels, no problem, but brilliant. And they end up, they can't go on holiday because they can't leave it with, and it's like, there's no joy in owning this dog, you know? So what's your take? Once I'm going to put my soapbox away.
Okay.
You can tell I'm very passionate about this project, this conversation.
Yeah, and you should be. We should be. If you know, if we're not going to come across as passionate, then who is going to stand up for dogs? If we're not willing to put ourselves on the line and really get out there and say, this is how it is, and this is how I feel, and this is wrong, then nobody's going to, and we're never going to change anything. And you know, you've given me an amazing kind of, you know, podium to stand on today and shout about, you know, what's wrong and what's right. So I do really thank you for that. Yeah, it's again, I totally agree with you. We've gone the wrong way. And I'm seeing now this new trend that I haven't seen before, and it's really difficult for me particularly, of owners turning up and being at not just breaking point with the dog, not just, oh God, you know, I'm sick of the dog, you know, the dog's a nightmare. You know, you get that all the time, but literally like my whole life is so badly affected by this dog that it's affecting my relationship with my partner, my children, my family. I'm not going on, like you said, I'm not going on holiday because I can't leave the dog. I'm too worried to leave the dog. I'm not going out to the pub. I'm not going out. I'm sitting in the house. I'm getting up at midnight and walking the dog. I'm getting up at 3 a.m. and walking the dog. This is crazy behavior. It is outrageously crazy, and it is no good for people's mental health. And again, you know, people will get a dog because they think it's going to help their mental health, and they end up in this toxic relationship with a dog and with a dog trainer that's stringing them along on the never of, you know, we call them bush ninjas, you know, like hide in a bush, hide behind a car, don't let your dog see another dog. Why can't they see another dog? For what reason? They are a dog. They're one of the most social dogs on the planet. They're one of the most intelligent, you know, incredible dogs. We don't feel like they can even see another dog. How has it come to this, Kamal? That's outrageous. And you know, I'm now spending more time with people undoing their own now kind of ingrained fear of a dog, because this kind of psychosomatic thing, you know, people are seeing a dog, oh, there's a dog, I've got to hide. And it's actually making people fearful of dogs when they've got a reactive or fearful or aggressive dog. How have we done that? How have we just compounded it and actually made it worse? We're not fixing the dogs. We're actually making people as bad as the dogs. We've got people that are dog fearful, dog reactive and dog aggressive, you know, screaming and shouting at other people's dogs for just being dogs. And there's kind of two things that really fit hand in hand in my ethos as well. And what I say all the time is we get dogs because we love dogs. Oh, I love dogs. Yeah, dogs are great. Dogs are great. But then anytime they act like a dog, we got, oh, something wrong with my dog. It growled, you know, it growled. Well, oh no, I've got a bad dog. It barked at someone today. Oh my God, what am I going to do? You know, and you think, you know, you do realize that they're just communicating something, you know. They're allowed to do that. It's like,
I really love dogs, but I'd really like it to act like a cat.
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, I'd like a dog, but doesn't do any of the kind of uncomfortable dog things.
It's mad.
It is. Or the other thing that's got to me for years and years and years is we all say, and I say it all the time, you know, I don't like people. People are disappointing. People are, you know, I'm not a people person. I don't want to spend a lot of time with people. So then we get a dog, and then we treat it like it's a bloody person. And you know, and humanize it, and then treat it like it's a human baby. But you've got it because you like dogs. So why would you get a dog and then expect it to have all the characteristics of a human baby that you wouldn't want and you don't want anyway? It absolutely blows my mind. You know, I have dogs because I love dogs and I love what dogs do. I don't want them to act like people. I want them to act like dogs. I want them to be the best they can be within the restrictions of their breed and their size and, you know, whatever else comes into it. But I want them to be a dog, and I want them to have a dog life, and I want them to be happy with me as their person. But yeah, I think it's the extremities, isn't it? I mean, I have a couple, I think two, force-free dog trainers who follow my page, and they're really supportive, and they comment all the time, and they'll always kind of put that force-free spin on it, which is really, really good. But they're not kind of the extremes, and they'll always say that's not us, it's not the extremes, you know, we're somewhere in the middle. And I always say I think I'm quite boring, I'm quite middle of the road, really. You know, I don't think I do anything that's necessarily outstanding, you know, not to be attacked as much as I am. But it is the extremities of, we have people turn up with German Shepherds and they say, so I went to another dog trainer because the dog was reactive, and they said, don't take him out for 3 months, you know, and this is like a nine month old.
Do you know how many
German
times I've
Shepherd.
had that clients? Honest to God, it just drives me mad. Drives me
It's,
mad.
you know, when you kind of think, so sometimes you and me could have it.
Unethical. Pamela, it's
Yeah.
unethical. It just, I had a, so, years ago, I had a client that came to me in London. She had a Dachshund, absolutely lovely little dog called George, and he was, we did great work with him, etc., etc. So I left East London, I moved to Sussex. She contacts me and says, I've got another Dachshund. And no, people's name wasn't George. The second one was George. Sorry, I got it mixed up. But she brings this dog who was George to me, and she said she'd been to another trainer, and he'd said to don't take the dog out of the house because it was fearful and apprehensive, and not to take him out and to do because he would bark at the windows. So put the blinds, not blinds, block the windows out so he couldn't see out. That was one thing. And clicker him and feed him for going towards the door, looking at the door. So you start to build a positive association. Okay, which in theory, yeah, okay, fine, whatever. But the big thing that really did jumped at me was she said, "Oh, not take him out for 3 months initially." But because then when she tried to get an appointment with him, the person again, for scheduling didn't work, there was another 3 months lapse. So this dog hadn't been out of the house for 6 months. She brings the dog to me for residential training because she says, again, she couldn't leave the house, etc. She says it was really starting to impact her mental health, etc., etc. And when she came to me, she brought him here to Sussex, and I said to her, she walked in, she was lovely, really, Jane, really lovely person. I said, I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I can help you. And she said, and she was a bit flabbergasted, and she said, oh, she says, I'm sure you can. I said, no, I don't think I am. I said, because the problem is not, I said, I'm telling you now, I could take this dog out for a walk tomorrow, and he'll be fine with all my dogs. And she said, no way, no way. He hasn't been out of the house for 6 months, etc., etc. And I said, because it's your condition to be fearful with him. You're holding on to the stuff. So I said to her, look, okay, I'll have the dog here. And I tell you now, I will video him out on a walk with all, as sure as eggs are eggs. He was out with all my dogs. I can't remember how I had it at the time, bounding around, having a jolly old time, chasing the others, being a totally normal dog. And it took what his thing was when he was on his own, he didn't have confidence. So we did a bit of work on just building his independence up. He was a great little dog. And the difference, I mean, then it was the catalyst. She could see what he could be, and she just grew it and grew it and grew it and grew it. But it's that mentality. Where does that, like, so I'm not going to take my dog out of the house for 3 months. It's morally and ethically, it's wrong, Pamela.
It is. And do you know what I'm starting to call it now, as we see it? Sensory deprivation.
Yeah.
It is sensory
If
deprivation.
you did that to a child, you would get child services on your doorstep.
Yeah, absolutely. But then at the end of it, people are surprised that the dogs are worse. Oh well, this dog trainer and some of these, they're like very, very highly qualified. They've got several degrees. They've got the kind of veterinary side of it as well. And so you listen to them, don't you? These people are listening. They're paying a lot of money. So they're going to listen. They're going to do what they're being told to do. And then they come to me and I'm saying, listen, first off, you're going to have to take like a deep breath, because what I'm going to tell you is like night and day to what you've been told. I'm going to say we have to expose this dog. We have to almost flood this dog, because anything other than just sitting in the house for 3 months, even stepping out the front door is flooding them, really.
Yeah, technically.
Opening the curtains is flooding if you've had the curtains shut for 3 months. So we have to flood them. But then, I did a thing recently on flooding. It was with a collie, and she was 2.5, and for 2 years she'd been with quite an extreme kind of force-free trainer who she'd never been off lead. She'd been to classes every week, and she was hiding behind things and half a mile away from the nearest dog. And I just said, look, I think this is just, this isn't even a thing. She's just frustrated. That's the reactive behavior you see, is frustration.
Yeah.
Let's let her off. And I videoed it and I put it on my page. Like you say, I'm so clear with what I do. I've got massive kind of clarity with what I do. I say, look, this is it. You are seeing what I do here. And I put her in with one of the black Labradors and playing, and within 20 minutes she's kind of like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I said, this is really what your class is flooding. And I still got attacked for it. And then people said, but this is still the wrong thing to do. I was like, but hold on a second here. This dog had no life, couldn't walk down the road, she couldn't, you know, do anything. The owners were miserable. She was not living a collie life, and she now is. Yeah, well, we still shouldn't flood. You think, wow, you know, this dog now comes to my social classes, and it comes to my neutrality classes, and it walks down the road, it goes off lead, plays with other dogs. So sometimes you have to put them into an uncomfortable situation, and people have got a massive psychological problem with that, Kamal.
So let's
That you
just talk at that, because flooding is a controversial technique, and I would say it's controversial because the biggest proponent of flooding as a technique, and it was done good, bad, and different, it doesn't really matter, was probably Caesar Milan. So Caesar Milan was, you know, a big celebrity dog trainer on, or celebrity trainer on television. Obviously, you know, most people will know who he is, who flooded dogs. And in my opinion, he did it, if I'm being truthful, sometimes it worked, sometimes it was awful, sometimes it was indifferent, right? So then, as these things happen, the term and the perception of, let's say, putting the dog in any situation which could be where you have multiple triggers or lots of sensory overload, can be interpreted as flooding. Now, as you've said, if you've isolated a dog, for whatever reason, if the dog has been isolated intentionally or unintentionally, anything is going to be flooding it. Taking out the front door, putting a kettle on, you know, opening the front door is going to be, you know, flooding it. So I would say, for me, there's a difference between taking a dog that's absolutely petrified, taking around 50 dogs and saying cope. That's different to saying, hey, listen, why don't we put you with one other dog, and, you know, over a period of time, not just in, like, stick you in, let's just see how this progresses with safety perimeters. To me, that's not, I wouldn't qualify that as flooding. I would call that as, to be honest, effective dog training, and actually try to move it forward. And I don't look at what you do, any of the work that you do, and qualify as flooding as per what I think people would associate with it. But I think there's a flooding as a technique, or let's call it sensory immersion, would probably a better definition, is actually a really skilled process, because you have to be able to read the dog, read the secondary dog, read the people, and be always aware of the situation potentially escalating, or the point of where you say, okay, that's enough, let's pull them back, or let's give them a moment, or okay, let's change, or I'm going to just gravitate and I'm going to just draw the dog over this way. So you aren't just standing there and necessarily observing and not being aware. You are absolutely reading it by moment by moment by moment, and that's, to me, what effective dog training and behavior modification should be. So obviously you use the, let's say, sensory immersion, let's call it that, as opposed to flooding, as a technique. And in my opinion, I think that you do fantastic work with the way in which you do it. And I would say the proof of the pudding is in eating, just to see the difference in the dog's behavior. And to me, you know, what frustrates me is you can, you know, if we're using the barometer of success for behavior modification is our ability to tick boxes, we're never going to be moving forward. It's the dog that tells us. The dog will tell us if what we're doing is effective or not. And I would say the dogs that you share, and I appreciate social media, we can all share good and bad, we can always edit stuff, but I'd say the work that you do is so impactful. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. Sorry, the work that you do is so impactful. You have been criticized, and you have been questioned about your, so tell or share with us that experience. What happens normally? What's the normal pattern? You post something up, and then what happens?
Yeah, first off, just talking about flooding or immersion, as you're saying it, obviously, just to qualify what I do, if we have a very fearful, you know, scared dog, I wouldn't flood them. You know, the fact is, I'd only do it on dogs that are really frustrated, you can clearly see. So again, I feel one of the problems nowadays is nobody's really assessing dogs like I do. So many dogs we have here, and they've just been misdiagnosed, and there is a big tendency to diagnose them as fearful, scared. And that sets a mindset into the owner's brain of, oh my God, my dog's scared of everything, therefore I mustn't expose them to anything. And that's dangerous. when I can see that actually it's not coming from a place of fear, it's coming from a place of inexperience and frustration, that's when I would then use flooding. And again, by flooding, I'm not doing what Caesar did when you get a dog and just chuck it in with 50 dogs, because that's dangerous. I'm just picking a suitable dog, you know, reading what they do, observing what they do, and picking a suitable dog to put in with them to play, that will bring them out and show them, hey, you know, this is what dogs do. This is how dogs can be. And it's like a revelation for most dogs. So yeah, it's and I do work dog to dog. I use different things with different dogs. And my, you know, not sticking to or not aligning to one of the camps means that I can do that. I can, you know, I don't have to stick with, oh well, I'm this, so this is what I'm going to do. And I would just, I'm very, very good with working with the dog in front of me, and I'm very adaptable. So I'll adapt what I need to do for that dog. So just to clarify that, because as I say, I do get a lot of criticism. I mean, you say criticism, you say, you know, kind of comments and stuff on that. So it's attack. We get attacked. I get attacked daily. Which, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's your mindset, isn't it? I mean, you asked like, how does it happen? So I'll do a video. I'll try and record what I'm doing, you know, with my phone as I'm doing it. I'll try and get some footage. I'll always make sure that owners are happy with it to go on. Obviously, there's a lot of that I record that people don't want to put on. They don't want to be in it, which is fine. I don't like being in it really. And I'll explain, okay, this is the dog's name. This is why it came to us. This is the route that they've taken, you know. And a lot of the time at the minute, it is this kind of sensory deprivation. They haven't been out. They haven't seen another dog. They're walking at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're hiding in bushes. And then this is them at the end of the session, two or 3 hours later, and they're running and they're playing and they're happy or they're calm, or you know. And then I put it on social media, and I have to be really careful how I word it, because people will pick fault with, you know, oh, well, you said this and this, and then you didn't say anything. Oh, okay. So I have to go over it and read it. It takes a lot of time now. You know,
absolutely, it's exhausting.
Yeah, it's draining, because you're trying to put it out there to get, you know, I am really passionate about what I do, and I want to show it, and I want to go, look, this is what I do. And I want to be really clear, and I want to be really open about what I do, so that people can either look and go, I don't like what she does, I'm not going to go to her, which is great, because it would just be a clash. Yeah, it won't work. If you don't like what I do, don't come to me. That's, yeah, go and watch other people's videos and think, oh, I want to go down this route. But it also opens up the opportunity for people who don't think that there's another way. We do find that a lot of people go to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 force-free trainers, try different trainers, but they're all coming at the same approach, and then people are starting to give up. So I try and just show, look, I'm going to do something different. I'm going to put your dog in with dogs. I'm going to, you know, test them with my dogs. So I'm really, you know, I've got a huge amount of clarity of what I do, and then inevitably we get attacked. And I mean, sometimes it's trolls, sometimes it's people that just sit at home and they've got nothing better to do, and everyone's a dog trainer, Kamal. Everyone thinks they know better than you. As I'm sure you get armchair dog trainers, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, I mean, a lot of the comments just go over my head. If people are rude, if it's coming from a bad place, I'll either just delete it, because I just don't have time for it. I do not have time for it. If it's constructive, or if it's a genuine question, I will answer it. And it is me on my social media. You are talking to me. I haven't got a big team behind me. I haven't got a social media manager. I haven't got anyone telling me what to do. The videos you see are either me recording, or I have my assistant on a Saturday who records. That's why sometimes I'm in it. If you see me in it, it's normally a Saturday. And I then sit at home with a glass of wine, you know, of an evening. I edit the video, and then I write about it, I put it on, and then I respond. So if people ask a genuine question, or show genuine interest, if you see a response, it is me. But that is also incredibly, you know, time consuming. So if people are rude, if people are just being negative for the sake of just getting a kick out of it, I'll just delete it. I will not give them any time. The main thing that we get is other dog trainers coming on and attacking, and that's just rubbish. That's, you know, that's rubbish, because firstly, I would like to say, you'll never see me do that. You will never ever see me go on and attack another dog trainer on their page. If I don't like what they do, if I'm following them, I'll unfollow them. I don't actually look at a lot of other dog trainers. I don't actually know a lot about what other people do because I'm actually not that interested. I am interested in what I do. I'm interested in showing you what I do. And if you like it, that's great. If you don't, then, you know, that's absolutely fine. I don't have a lot of time and I don't have the mindset to attack back. I'll always try, and if it's really bad, so I do get a disproportionate amount of attacks from local dog trainers. I am the only kind of, you know, not force-free trainer in the area, and there's about, I don't know, 7 or 8 in the area. The amount of hate that is generated and built towards me is unbelievable, Kamal.
Wow.
It is palpable.
So on that point, I'm just going to interject there because you've mentioned,
Yeah.
and let's have the conversation. So you mentioned force-free trainers or the community being the most critical, and I would say, I don't know what's going on because, again, a bit like you, I have to say I don't assimilate to any particular group. I am a reinforcement-based dog trainer. I choose not to use aversive methods. And I choose to use reinforcement to train my dogs. But in the same vein, positive does not mean permissive. I have 12 dogs, 13 currently because I'm looking after a friend's dog. So I have a lot of dogs. My dogs don't say, no, thank you, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. You know, they're trained. I expect them to do things. And I will, you know, if I ask my dogs to do something and they don't do it, I'll follow it up with, you know, excuse me, I'm talking to you, get your ass in the van, or whatever the case may be. I don't raise my voice. I don't believe in, you know, physically hitting them or violence, etc. And that's my take on dog training. Am I completely right? No. Am I completely wrong? No, I just do me. But it does seem to be within the dog training industry, there is all these internal tribes. You have balance trainers, you have force-free trainers, you have, you know, blah, 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 blah trainers. You have all these different camps, and they're so desperately trying to have their thinking and their tribe win the fight. And I don't even know what they're fighting for, to be truthful. We're all actually aiming for the same thing. We all want to have a society with dogs that are happy, content, well-adjusted, safe, under control, all the stuff. We're all striving for the same thing. And it's like, put down your spears, people. If we all got on the same page, we'd probably move this process a lot quicker forward. So where do you think you receive most of the criticism from? Which would you say, let's call a spade, which community do you think is the most critical?
Oh, yeah, force-free. I mean, 100%. I'm in this weird situation. It's a bit of a phenomena. The balance trainers class me as force-free. I don't class myself as anything, you know, definitely not force-free, but as force-free as possible, I would say, as force-free as I can be. The force-free trainers count me as a balance trainer, as a horse trainer, but I'm not. You know, and that really grates on me, and that really upsets me. And I'm in a difficult position because I've got a lot of friends who are balance trainers, and they do use tools, and they are fantastic trainers. They're skilled in what they do, and they're really supportive of me. But you know, they kind of, you know, pat me on the head as if like, well, you know, you're kind of one of them. You know, you're kind of one of the force-free. You're so force-free. But I get, Kamal, and I don't know why, I get more hate than my friends that use prongs and e-collars, and you know, even I know people that are compulsion trainers that get less hate than I do. So you know, it's like, go figure that out. I don't know whether it's because I've got a big social media following. I don't know. I don't know whether, you know, because I put myself out there.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. If I'm honest, I think when you have when you have the courage to put your head above the parapet, you are going to have people throw stones. And in this industry, I think that you definitely, and I'd say this is for people coming up in the industry, you do have to develop somewhat of a thick skin and an inner belief of, do you know what? I believe I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. And if you put out your work, the people that are for you will gravitate towards you, and those that aren't, then, you know, I would say don't waste any energy. I mean, I'm very I learned very early in my career that I don't engage with any negative criticism and constructive criticism. Absolutely, I'll have a dialogue. If you think question what I do or don't understand it or even disagree, I'm all for having a dialogue about this is my take on it. What I won't engage is like you say, the nastiness or anything
Yeah,
that's personal, which people can sometimes make. I just cut it off. I don't even bother. And my feeling is, one, I've been doing this long enough, and two, I think I proved myself time and time again. It's like, if you don't like what I do, there's millions of other options. Just go and grab, linger around them. It's like I don't get into it, and I think that's something that um I would say I'd always advise people to take that stance. But on a personal level, being really whether you're able or you're happy to discuss, how
mhm,
does those things actually impact you? I mean, you're clearly incredibly confident. You've got a great unit around you. You've got a great team around you. You've obviously got family. You've got all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you're a human being. So when somebody chucks mud at you, how
yeah.
does that affect you and how do you deal with it?
Yeah, it depends on where it's coming from. I mean, you'll know, you get like these weird comments, don't you? These trolly comments. We've had them about like, I'm going to kill your dogs and I'm going to
Yeah.
stamp on your pugs. Yeah, I just delete those because there's some weird people out there. Then you get kind of criticism. I love constructive criticism. I love a good argument. Like you said, I'm very confident. I'm quite arrogant. I love what I do. I'm very, very confident in what I do. I'm very passionate about what I do, and I want to tell you about what I do. I want to talk about what I do. So if people come on and they go, yeah, but what about this? Or could this have happened? Or I don't understand why you've done that. I'll talk to you all day. I'll sit and spend my time and go, yeah, look, or maybe I didn't explain it properly, and I'll always look back onto myself and think, oh yeah, I didn't quite say that properly. I wrote it at 11 o'clock at night, or I didn't quite edit the video to show this, or, and then I think, well, people are just looking at it from a different perspective. So I'm probably the most self-critical person. So no one's going to criticize me more than I do. Which is great, because it keeps you on your toes, and what other people say about me doesn't really matter as much because it's only what I think. So yeah, I'll answer those one way. The thing that's for me, I've got a great mindset. I mean, I've had criticism all my life. You imagine I used to race cars, so and I was
Very male-dominated industry. Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely, yeah, and I was really good at it as well. So I'm used to taking criticism of stuff that I'm good at. And yeah, that grew me a really strong backbone. So the thing that's kind of difficult to take is when it's really like unfair, and when so for example, like I said earlier, I get a huge amount of hate in the local area, and that's very, very, very generated by a few of the force-free dog trainers who have a massive issue with me. They don't have a massive issue with any of the male dog trainers and some of the really harsh dog trainers that are around. They don't seem to attack them. It's just all like me. You'll hear a lot of misinformation. You'll hear a lot of propaganda against me that I use choke chains and e-collars and that I'm really harsh and I've been called a predator. I've been called like all these names, and I've had my videos. There was a video last year of me working with a dog, and I was like showing a point of the fact that a reactive dog isn't necessarily an aggressive dog. And a local dog trainer took my video with me in it working with a dog and used it as her advert as to like, this is how you don't train a dog, and took it totally out of context and called me like horrific names, and it was like an attack. It was a personal and business wise, like a sabotage on the business, and she put it around all the local selling sites and stuff. And then was when we'd said, so I rang, I'm a come and see me kind of person. You got a problem, I'll ring you, talk to me. If you've got that much of a problem, I'll come around, have a cup of tea, I'll talk to you. I'm very good face to face, and she kind of blocked me on everything, and you're like, that's weird. And this happens all the time. I get this all the time. People are dog trainers around here, their social media is more about me than it's about them, and that's a really poor mindset. My social media is about me. Their social media is about me also, and that's just weird. I mean, I've got one local trainer that I would class as a stalker. You know, I've had to take police advice
Oh, wow.
against. Oh yeah. Oh no, I'm not. Yeah, I'm deadly serious. Yeah. One is definitely a stalker. And 2 or 3 others are, I would say, serial offenders at trying to damage my business. And I mean, on a weekly, if not daily basis, I'll put social media content out there, and then someone will send me something going, oh my God, you know, we call them Martha canines, like the stalker from Baby Reindeer. You know, oh, they've kind of copied what you said, or they've argued what you said, and I'm like, okay, that's, you know, that's fine, that's up to them. And you know, my mindset with this, and it's that amazing saying, you know, if someone throws stones at you, don't throw them back, keep them and build an empire. And that's me. That's I am the personification of that. So if I know someone's out there throwing hate at me, what I do is I figure out, okay, I could spend like 15 or 20 minutes of my time here and go and throw hate back at them, or I could spend 15 or 20 minutes putting something good and positive into my business. So whenever anyone attacks me, Kamal, I go onto my own social media and I put a video on, or a picture on, or I talk to people, or I engage, and I do something for me. I try and like keep the balance of the universe. So
I
I
love
could
that
throw.
you say that when people throw stones, because the thing is, you know, talking to people that are, you know, new in the industry, or in this industry, that, you know, social media is part of what we do now. It's part and parcel. There's a blessing person there. You know, it can move out. You know, you can do incredible things with social media, absolutely incredible things, but it comes at a cost and the price, and it is, you have to be aware of the impact on your mental health and how it can, you and their criticism. You know, the way in which I think of it is, like, a bit like you, I don't really follow many people on social media. Obviously, you know, as a professional dog trainer, and you know, somewhat, you know, known, I have a lot of people that I know well from different communities, force-free, balanced, you know, reinforcement, or, you know, the whole shebang, different sports, dog sports, behavior modification. And I feel I've always maintained the ability to go with an open mind, talk to anybody and listen and hear their perspective, because whilst I might not be necessarily agree with what your techniques or what you do, I still want to have the conversation, because I think that open dialogue is how we will all, again, the premise of this podcast is lifting all ships, and a rising tide lifts all ships. And if we have that mentality, all of us can come out. And the thing is, you know, I can learn from other people by not necessarily by saying, okay, I'm going to use an e-collar, but what's the thinking? What's the intention? What's the methodology? Can I adapt that to what I do? You know, so all those things I can use to my gain, and I can hopefully help more people and help more dogs, which is really what the irony is, Pamela. We're all about the same thing. If we're really truthful, you know, all the communities really, whilst however we do it, and let's put let's take the emotion out of it, the intention, when you actually strip it all back, we all want to improve the lives of dogs for their owners, or to just improve the lives of dogs. I'm sure that's my solemn belief. I really, and you know, I was asked on a podcast about, you know, the in-house fighting in the dog industry, and I said, listen, I've been doing this 30 years. We've always had this crap. Like it was this community against that. We've always, that's human nature. You would find it in the same in motorbike crossing, you know, bike in car racing.
Yeah.
I've done martial sports. It was all martial martial arts. It was the same thing. You know, athletics. It was the same thing. This club, and you'd have that. It's human nature. And the irony is that we all are trying to strive for the same thing. And when you throw stones, most of the time, I would say, really what you're doing is, you're a bit like a reactive dog. You're sharing your insecurities and you're displaying it in a way that goes rah. And actually, when you stop and think, you go, hang on a second, this isn't about Pamela. Really, what I'm doing is Pamela's being successful, and I'm frustrated that I'm not at that level, or I disagree with what she's doing, and it isn't how I train. And rather than it not affecting my life whatsoever, because she's over there and I'm over here, why don't I do better and show what I do, so people then that want to learn from me go, do you know what? I don't really like that, Pamela, but you're amazing. I'm going to gravitate to you. That's my ethos. I don't get into Facebook dialogues. I don't get into debates. I just go, here's what I do. I think I'm quite good at it. If you like it, great. If you don't, okay, great, do. Like, there's no point getting into that combative thing. It's just such a waste of energy.
It is, and I'm determined not to waste time and energy on negativity, because it will only eat you. If you throw stones back, it's going to get to you, and your business and your mental health and your family and stuff will suffer for it. You mustn't let yourself get dragged into it. And I mean, I've actually I've thrown myself into, especially with the last couple of years, it's been quite quite tiring, quite difficult. And I've actually started another business. It's called Impact Social Media, and I'm actually supporting other dog trainers, especially new upcoming dog trainers, with their social media, and not really the likes and shares, but the impact mentally on them. So I'm supporting and mentoring several new dog trainers, across the UK, not just England. And helping them with their mindset, and helping them with, there's a lot that are being silenced, Kamal. There's a lot of dog trainers that will not promote themselves because they're so scared of being silenced, and I'm really helping them come out and find their voice and showing them how to move forward. And one of the things that I use it for, and that I'm grateful for, I think you've always got to look for the positives, and one of the things I'm grateful for is, I said before, I've got two little boys. I've got a 10-year-old and an 11-year-old. And if I'm attacked, if it's bad, if it's this kind of hateful hate campaign against me in the area, I sit down with them and I show them what's been said, and I explain the context of what's been said, and I show them what's going on, and what people are doing and what people are saying, or if people are doing horrible things, and I explain to them where it's coming from. And I say to them, it's similar to what you've said, confidence is quiet, insecurity is very loud. And I show them how I'm dealing with it, and I'll say to them, that's rubbish. I don't, this is not fair, and this has upset me, and I feel like, this is a really nasty thing to say. And I show the boys, because the kids will say, like, maybe we'll say something back, so, but we're not going to do that. When they go low, we go high. And I really use it as an opportunity to educate my children. So I'm grateful for the opportunity to explain to the kids, look, this is how I deal with what is basically bullying. It is online bullying, and it is in-person bullying, and it's a hate campaign because people are jealous, and you're never going to escape that. You can't think, well, it's going to get better. I won't educate my children how to deal with bullying, because I'm sure in 30 years' time, when they're this age, that they won't get bullied. Well, they will. Bullying is part of human nature. So it builds resilience for my children. So again, I'm grateful for that, but I will not spend the time throwing negativity back, or thinking, oh, this is awful. Why are people saying such horrible things about me? I sit and I say to the kids, oh God, look at this. Would you believe it? And the kids are like, oh no, Mama, that's terrible. And what are you going to do? And I'll say, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go and take a picture of the pugs doing something daft, put it on my page, and build it into something positive. And instead of concentrating on the negative, I'm going to do something good for the business that I love, and that's mindset. That's like,
Absolutely. And this so it's really interesting that you say that, because there's so many thoughts that jump into my head. One is exactly as you said. Like, I always think, I want to try and be an example for my daughter about how not only who she is, but who I am, to show her by example, lead by example. Like, this is how I conduct myself in conversation. This is how I act on social media. Like, obviously, when we did the dog academy, everybody has an opinion about what you do, and and actually, what happened is she got a little bit of bullying at school on the back of it, and it was sorted. The school were incredible, and I had a dialogue to her, like, I won't do this again if it upsets you, if this happens. I mean, it was fixed. The school were incredible. It was no problem. But I really felt responsible, Pamela, because I thought, I don't want my daughter going to school having this where, oh, her dad was on television, and they were just kids being kids, to be truthful, but it was bullying. And I said to her, and she said, no, Daddy, she says, I'm so proud of what you do, and what you I'm proud that you're on television. And it really did make me quite emotional, because I thought, yeah, she's going to get people say stuff, if you put yourself above the parapet. I can take it, Pamela. I'm a pretty sturdy character. I grew up in East London. Somebody putting some crap on Facebook, I ain't gonna be wasting no time on that. But something happened to my daughter, that's a different ballgame. And so that definitely was something that I had to really think about. But one of the best was a very good friend of mine, who's passed away now several years ago. And she gave me one of the best pieces of advice, and it come on the back of, I did a seminar, and the dog had a reactivity issue, and I dealt with it at the time, or however I did. And anyway, one of the participants on the seminar went away after the seminar and did, and it just so happened that it was a 2-day seminar, and the second day had to be cancelled because we got snowed in. And but one of the people on the seminar wrote a blog about the seminar saying the morning was brilliant, really great, and then the afternoon, and she wrote it up as if you'd swear that I'd got this dog, helicoptered it around my head and kicked it around this hall. It was so like, I was like, I had to ring up my friend and going like, did I enter? Well, sorry, was there like another? Was there my doppelganger? Because that's not how that went down. Anyway, so I rang up my friend who is really, really wise, and I was like, "Oh God, I've got this happened," and I was quite young in my career. I think this was a good few years ago, probably 10, 15 years ago. And she's like, and she said to me, "Do you think what you said was truthful, honest, and what the woman needed to hear?" And I was like, "Absolutely. No, I had that in my mind." And she said, in that case, put it out, leave it. She's put it out in the ether and don't say any more. And she says, because if you're truthful and honest with who you are, she said, let the chips fall where they fall. So I took her advice, and I was a bit like, I was edging to sort of write something, and she's like, no, don't write, don't acknowledge it, let it be. Anyway, fast track, about a year, 18 months later, the same person wrote to me and essentially apologized. I never that was it. From that day, I just went, oh, whatever, let it go. She wrote an apology saying how wrong she'd read the situation, how unfair she was, and that the dog that I had tried to help this person with, the dog had gone on to do X, Y, and Z because the woman didn't take my advice, And she totally did a 180. And she was like, I'm so like, I should have thought, And I was like, it is what it is, no hard feelings, And it was a real full circle moment, because you kind of go, the easiest thing for me to have done in that moment, it was to gone on. I mean, I had a little tiny platform at the time. I could have gone on there and wrote this scathing response and, tore her up for arse paper. But what would have been achieved from that? And the other thing I always think in those moments when you respond is, I don't know what that person's going through, So let's just say they're taking out their stuff, okay, on me because they've seen me or Pamela, doing something that triggers something for them. And if I go back and, as I said, I'm built with stern stuff. I'm not going to pull my punches, and they're probably going to come off worse. What if they then make a decision based on my pushing them over the edge? I just think, you know what, it's just not worth it, and as you said, there's a difference between a bit like you're saying, I'm not going to take any nonsense. I'm going to if I'm going to push back and challenge you if I think but if it's something that I think, what, this is not about me, this is your stuff, I'm just going to let it go to God, let it go to the ether. That's not about me. That's about you projecting. So I'm going to step back and remove myself from this conversation.
Yeah, sure. I think that is it's that let them, isn't it? If they want to be mean to you, let them. If they want to tell lies about you, let them. But just don't do it back. You've just got to be. Again, that's what I say to my kids. That's not us, though. We're not going to do that. They can do that. Tomorrow you'll have forgotten about it anyway. But just let them. If that's what they need to do, then
It's wasted energy. I mean, there's a difference, isn't
it
there? I mean,
is.
there's a point of where I'm not going to have people. I won't be walked over. Like if it's something that I think, hang on, if it's blatant, like no, we're not going to be doing lies because I have receipts and I can back it. I think that's good. Know who you are, be truthful, and go, listen, I appreciate that you don't like what I do because I choose to use this approach and this method. That I have no issues with. But if you're going to say, Kamal starves these dogs and feeds them every 3 weeks, and then when no, we're not doing that, because that's just, that's not truthful. I don't mind you saying I don't agree with what you're doing. That's different, So it is hard, and I mean it's fantastic that you're helping other people that's coming up in the industry. So let's shift it to a much more upbeat note. And as I said at the beginning of the conversation, one of the big things that jumped out to me on your social media was your incredible Daphne, who obviously your aggression therapy dog. Let's talk about her qualities. And do you, in your opinion, think that those things can be taught to a dog? Is that God-given? Can you create it? Is she a one-off? All that stuff. So a little bit about Daphne.
Daphne. Yeah, so no, it's not a one-off, because I've had 7 mastiffs that do exactly the same as Daphne. I've got a frog now that works full-time It's a little bit of everything, isn't it? It's like kind of, you know, all those things coming together. So I chose her, and I obviously researched the breeds and the breeders and the dog itself and the line, you know, massively before getting her. So I needed to know that kind of parents were sound, grandparents were sound, you know, of temperament and health as well. Obviously, you know, it takes me a huge amount of time to train my dogs, and to bring them up to do what I want them to do. So they need to be healthy as well. So I take a huge amount of time. And actually, Frog is Daphne's daughter, so I bred Frog myself.
Oh,
And again, put a huge amount of time into researching the right stud dog to use with Daphne to get a really balanced dog with Frog. And I mean, I always say, really, what I do is what I tell people to do. My whole ethos is, you know, kind of copy what I do. So, you know, I got a dog that was the right fit for me. And, you know, Mastiff's very stoic, and strong. And that's what we need, you know. And a lot of the dogs, I mean, I see really severely aggressive dogs, and we see reactive aggressive dogs every day. You know, I work 6 days a week, and I normally work on average between 6 and 9 hours a day, and that's all filled with aggression. So it's a lot of aggressive dogs. So yeah, then they were socialized exactly how I structure my kind of puppy training, you know. Off-lead play at an early age in a controlled environment, you know, with lots of other puppies of a similar age, and then lots of training on lead. And, you know, I've got this kind of, you know, again, night and day thing of off-lead socializing, playing with other pups without human intervention, you know. And then as soon as they're on lead, they're working with their owner. So you've got to balance it with lots of training, lots of focus on the owner. And yeah, I mean, the first year of my therapy dog's life is just fun. They just have a huge amount of fun. They're at my dog park every day, so they're in and around dogs. I put them in with big dogs, small dogs, you know, everything. So they are, I kind of try and bring them up like street dogs, really, so that they learn these incredible skills. And then when they get to about a year old, the kind of really, you know, the hard work starts. So they have to start integrating with dogs that are reactive and aggressive, and then obviously I'll correct anything that they do wrong. But I mean, when I say correct, it's like a verbal correction. It's like a growl, you know. It's like a deep tone of voice, like, you know, leave it, you know, that amazing voice control you can have over dogs. You don't need physical force. I do not use physical force. I don't use these, I don't know, like alpha rolls or pinning dogs down or grabbing them, or, you know, I don't use anything like that. Like, that's why I say it's so weird that I get so attacked by the force-free trainers, because, you know, I'm so close to force free. The only thing that I don't do that's like extreme force free is obviously I don't hide them away, I expose them to stuff. So yeah, I don't use any kind of physical, you know. The most aversive things that I use are a martingale collar, and I like a figure of 8. Although I've got a dog trainer friend that'll tell you that a figure of 8 is more aversive than a prong. We have this amazing argument all the time, because obviously I would never use a prong, but I use a figure of 8. So it's so funny. I think it's brilliant to talk about perspectives.
absolutely. I mean, you know, I don't. Again, I don't attach myself to any community per se. I don't. I love the fact that I can go to all and have these fluid conversations. There's so many things that, you know, we all do. You know, having the dog on a lead, using a head collar, you know, using this. You know, where does the line get drawn? And you kind of go, do you know what? The way in which I live my life with my dogs, and it sounds like we're the same. I like my dogs. I love the way they behave. I love their social skills. I love their confidence that's been created. All my dogs are confident. All my dogs are social. I protect them anywhere. They've got good dog to dog skills. And I think, well, I don't know where I sit you know, in the camps, but I think, well, my dogs are pretty good at what I want them to do. So do you know what? I'm going to keep doing it. I say, you know, whether you know, to be blunt, whether you think it's good, bad, or different, I don't know, but I'm happy with and I think that's a big thing. So you just to sort of unpack it a little bit more, when you have a dog like Daphne or Frog, what are you looking for in, like, when you're selecting traits? Because to be honest, if everybody took that level of attention to picking the right dog, you and I would be out of a job.
Yeah.
You know, so let's give the secrets away. So hopefully we can both be unemployed.
Yeah, and again, I say to people, I don't mind giving out all the, you know, I don't keep any secrets behind, you know. There's not stuff behind the scenes. Yeah, I mean, obviously, I impact behaviour, so I'm very based on like the pack structure. Daphne's a very high-ranking dog, you know, like a decision maker, and that's what I needed at that time. So yeah, she likes to make the decisions. I like to think I make the decisions. So we do argue. We have, you know, we have argued. She's quite a difficult dog. The higher ranking dogs that you get, the more problems you're going to get. Frog is more the kind of second in command, so she's more a protector enforcer. She's very easy to train. She's much more focused onto what I want to do. So I have words that I will, you know, train them to do. So I'll say stand down. Stand down means I don't want you to do anything. I know the dog's being an asshole. I know it's barking in your face, but I don't want you to react. So if I'm saying stand down to my dogs, I'm saying just ignore them, you know, like the trolls on the internet, just ignore them, just let them go away. Or I'll say step in if I want them to do something. If I don't think the dogs are correcting them, if I want them to step in and either kind of body block or move them away, then I can tell them to step in. Or if I want them just to bark back at them. So they need to be trainable dogs. They need to be you know, like the lower ranking dogs, they're too happy. You know, I mean, they're brilliant pets. You know, if you want a pet, get a low ranking dog, you know, the big waggly ones that wag the tail, they smile at you and they're like, hi, well, you know, I'm just here for the food. So yeah, the higher ranking dogs is what I look at for working dogs. But for pet owners, then I always suggest that you go for the lower ranking ones, because they tend to have less responsibility. But it's a huge amount of work, isn't it, Kamal? That's the secret. It's just a huge amount of training, consistency and persistence, and just, you know, remaining kind of motivated to do it all the time. And that's where the general public that don't have the same amount of motivation to have such a well-trained dog, they see me and my dogs, they say, oh, that's what I want. And I said, well, come to my classes then, because I literally teach you in my puppy classes how to have dogs like Frog and Daphne and Turbo and Trudy. But it's then the level of how much time you spend doing it. But you know, the big key, if I had to give away like the secret to anything, you've got to see the parents of the dogs. You know, you've got to see the parents of the dogs. You've got to see what the temperaments are like. You know, you get this question of, you know, oh, my dog's aggressive. So I'll say, okay, well, did you meet the mum? Oh God, no, I couldn't get anywhere near the mum. It was so aggressive. And you know, you're like, there's a problem then. There's the issue.
It's really interesting that you say that, because saying about your two dogs. So I think that when you look at it, you can see different character traits, and the trade-off of having a dog that's more confident and resilient and isn't going to be concerned if another dog snaps in its face, and is going to be able to be molded to be the type of dog that you work with, an aggression therapy dog. They aren't necessarily always the easiest, because they've got an opinion about things, as you said, they're strong. So their natural inclination is to say, you know, sometimes be the fun police, sometimes be like the rule implementer. And you kind of go, what you have to do with that type of dog is educate them to tone down their, because sometimes they need to learn to moderate. No, you don't need to do it that strong. Like I've got actually it's bitches. I've got a bitch that's very much of that ilk, and I use her a lot with reactive dogs, because she's so stoic and she's so strong in her own mind. As a person, I have to she's always been the same. She's always been really resilient, and she passed that trait onto her puppies. And it's really interesting you say that. And then I think those qualities in the dog are so special, but they're not always, as you said, easy. And it's the irony, like if you took, let's just say, Daphne, and she wasn't in your hands, who would she be? You know, she'd be a right twat to people.
She'd be a nightmare. I say I love it, because you say so much like I say. It's amazing to talk to you. I say it all the time. If anyone else had Daphne, she'd be an aggressive dog, I should imagine. You know, because she's so headstrong, and she knows her own mind. And I mean, I'll tell anyone. You know, everyone says, "Oh, I see you and Daphne work. It's incredible." And you know, as a colleague, as a teammate, she is unbelievable. She is world class. You know, me and her are just incredible together. As a pet dog at home, because my dogs are pet dogs at home, you know, they're not, I don't have kennels, or you know, they're sprawled along on the couch and in the kids' beds, and you know, whatever. As a pet, she's a right pain in the ass. She's an awful pet. And you know, there's a family joke, you know, that if we'd have bought Daphne as a pet, we'd have sold her. You know, she's just not, she doesn't want to be a pet. She's very opinionated, and yeah, she's a rubbish pet. She doesn't want to live the pet life, although she's retired now, so she'll more or less kind of lay on the couch. But yeah, she's not affectionate, she's not attentive, she's just not interested. She would make an insecure owner, dog owner, feel very bad about themselves. She's very judgy. She will definitely judge you, and Frog will throw shade at you. You know, Frog is very judgmental. So if you're an insecure person, do not get a high-ranking dog. Don't do it to yourself, because they will cripple you. And yeah, I mean, Daphne's been a battle for 8.5 years, because she wants to do it her way. I want to do it my way. At work, it works. At home, it doesn't. You know, she's difficult. She's a difficult dog. And I always know, you know, you get people on the phone saying, oh, hey, you know, my dog's like this and this. And I'm like, I know what your problem is. I can tell you straight away, you've got a high ranking, confident dog, and they don't like your opinion. That your opinion is not relevant to your dog. But it works for a working environment. And you know, she'll look at me, you know, Frog will look at me, and I'll kind of like wink and go like, it's all right, you know, it's all right, I've got this one, or you know,
it's more of it's more of an equal. Like, I think that I mean,
yeah.
I've had you know, several really strong, like my first Malinois, who was dog aggressive. We were on par, like we were both equal. So, but we had a relationship where as I said, we were just I understood him and he understood me, so it worked really well. But he never was a dog that went, oh gosh, how do I please you? He went, you want me to do something, I'm happy to do it, just make it worth my while, and I'll absolutely, but you need to pull your weight. Because and it was that sort of dialogue we had. I mean, I'm anthropomorphizing, and you know, we've talked about not making it human, but if he would be that, he'd go, I'm all in, I'm absolutely a team player, but if you slack, I'm going to tell you you're slacking, and vice versa. And he was like, once I knew that about him, it was absolute magic. But you know, I've got other dogs that go, oh yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir. And to be fair, I don't use them for in your term, aggression therapy dog, because they'd fold. They would be too concerned about me and pleasing me, and they don't have that level of confidence. There's definitely one dog, I wouldn't put her in that situation. She's trained enough to say, hey dog, stay there, don't move, whilst another dog's at a distance, but internally she wouldn't cope with it. And other dogs I know would bounce back and go, yeah, whatever. So I think there's definitely a beauty in those types of dogs with that much confidence and strength. So in terms of your personal work, where do you see your journey? Where do you see your business? Where do you see what is it that you're trying to do?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. It's changed over the last couple of years. If you'd have asked me that 5 years ago, Kamal, I'd have said that I wanted impact behaviours all over the country, and I wanted to kind of franchise it, and I wanted it to become like this thing. But yeah, that doesn't work for me. I've trained a few trainers, and they've kind of set up in competition against me. That, you know, it just doesn't work. And one person that you take on that would then, you'd give them like the name, could ruin the business. So I've kind of made a decision this year. I mean, I had someone do it to me last year, and it was really bad. She really just completely ripped me off. You know, I trained her to be a trainer and work for me, and she's just set up against me in competition, and uses all my stuff, and kind of, you know, tries to make out that it's hers. And that's happened several times now. That's just not happening again.
That can be really hurtful.
It is, especially when you work with someone closely and you consider them a friend, and they literally stab you in the back.
You mentor them.
So I just have to, and I taught her everything, you know, and she's a good trainer, but you know, she should have been working for me. I've trained her to do my thing. And you can go and you can study, and you can be a dog trainer, and you can train in loads of different ways. But when I train you, I'm training you to do it my way. And then that really hurts when someone takes it. It's like, you know, it's your intellectual property, you know, it's all my stuff. So yeah, I'm not doing that again. It's just me. It's going to stay me. I'm not going to take anyone on, because I have to protect myself. So yeah, I've had a shitty time, really. You know, people have done some real crap stuff to me, and I do incredibly well. I'm a very resilient person, and it's a bloody good job I am. So yeah, I don't know. I want to help other dog trainers. I want to support them, not to train them to do what I do, but help them in their own businesses. and I don't know, just see how it goes. I'm loving what I'm doing at the minute. I'm kind of where I want to be, which is a nice place to be. I think everyone's trying to get somewhere. I don't feel like I am anymore. I don't want to open more centres. I'm enjoying going around the UK. I get loads of people invite me. I'm going to Ireland later on in this year to do some work in Ireland. I'm going to take the dogs with me. I like going and people hosting me around the country. That's great. So I don't really want to be anywhere. I want to do what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. Got my dogs and my kids. We have a fantastic life. The kids are a huge part of it. They're my driving force, and my family. So yeah, I don't really want to be anywhere. I don't really want to go anywhere with it. I want to educate people. I maybe want to do more with schools. I really enjoyed going out into the schools. I maybe want to build that into a bit more of a programs for other people to do, go out and educate kids with my live dogs, taking them in. So yeah, I want to just keep doing what I'm doing and doing the best that I can. I don't really have any big plans. Again, I've always had big plans. I'm going to open a new centre and a bigger centre, and I'm going to have more and more and more. I don't want to do that anymore. I just love what I do. I love working with the dogs. I like making a difference. I still get a huge buzz when we turn dogs around that have been, I'm kind of like the last port of call for a lot of dogs. People come to us after they've been 5, 6, 7 dog trainers, and the dog's about to be put to sleep or rehomed, and getting those results that we get every week is a buzz. So yeah, I suppose I'm in a really good position. I'm happy where I am. I'm happy doing what I'm doing.
And you know what? I love that. I think at the end of the day, that's all what we all strive for, to be content in our work. As I said to you at the beginning of the conversation, this was, I saw you on social media, um, and I don't generally, I see a lot of dog trainers, to be truthful. And generally speaking, rightly or wrongly, I tend not to follow too much of what people do, or but I reached out to you because I watched the work that you do, and I saw something in you that is special. You have a definite talent, and you have an ability that you really are doing incredible work, and you're walking the walk and talking the talk. And the thing I'd say to you, as somebody has been doing this a little while, is you will stand in your own truth, and not everybody's going to like that. And but the thing is, stand for something or for anything. You are doing incredible work in what you do. And I'm sure you realize it, and I'm sure people have told you, but the work that you do in that specific niche lane is one that will definitely, it will give people their life back. It will absolutely change their life. So hold on to that. It's been an absolute joy talking to you. The first conversation, I could witter on for hours. It's just been fantastic. Keep doing the good work. So if you want to reach out to Pamela, she's Impact with a K. I will share the link in the description. Follow her on social media. Check her out. As you said, she's the person behind her social media. If you're interested in reaching out to her, getting her support, getting her insight, I'm sure she'll have no issues with you sending her a message. If not, just follow and learn and watch, because it's people like this that are going to make changes to the way in which we perceive dogs, and get us back to some sort of normalcy about how we should be looking at dogs, dog behavior, and dogs that are perceived as problems that really aren't. They just need us to understand them. Pamela, thank you so much for your time. It's been an absolute joy.
Thank you. Absolutely my pleasure. Again, thank you for asking me. It's just, I was so thrilled. It's been brilliant. I've loved talking to you. Thank you, Kamal.
If you want to check out more of what Pamela does, or just any further episodes of Lifting All Ships, just click like and subscribe, I should say, to make sure you never miss another episode.